Data collection and reporting is the fundamental requirement of being a WSC program. The data collection strategy is intended to help you think proactively about how to collect, manage, and report your performance measures. Ultimately, data collection and analysis provide valuable opportunities to assess what is going well and what can be improved. The most fundamental goal of data collection is to help you improve your program. Let's review the session learning objective. Number 1, how to identify who will collect the data. Number 2, establish your data collection schedule. Number 3, choose an appropriate pre-post outcome instrument. Number 4, determine the data collection process. Number 5, the importance of training data collectors. Number 6, recording and organizing performance measurement data. And finally, number 7, assess performance measurement data. Number 1, how to identify who will collect the data. Select the person or people responsible for data collection. Data collectors can come in the form of program staff, AmeriCorps members, or volunteers. There are also many roles in working with data such as collection, analysis, and reporting. The individuals who are responsible for data collection should also have access to the sources and instruments, ideally are qualified or experienced in collecting programmatic data, and are as objective as possible when administering the instruments. When identifying data collectors, consider what other opportunities and constraints individuals or groups may have. Staff capacity or the desired process may drive decisions on who takes which roles. For example, a key staff person may not have the time to take on all the data-related roles. Also, in many cases, it is desirable for the person collecting data to be different than the person verifying it. It's important to identify who will collect your data for both your output and outcome tools. Different people may be responsible for different tools. Output tools. Typically, output tools are logs and other tracking tools. Your data collectors are the ones responsible for completing these tools. So, when you choose your data collectors, you are deciding who will track the numbers for your program. Will it be the participants themselves? Staff members? If so, which ones? Tracking your outputs are essential. Outcome tools. Outcome tools measure changes and tend to be surveys or tests that will need to be administered. Your data collectors will administer these tools according to the process you've specified. So, you need to decide who is best equipped to do this. Will it be program staff? An evaluator? School staff for a school program? Or is it somebody else? Number 2, establishing the data collection schedule. The schedule will ensure that the program has the resources, instruments, and collectors in place to effectively collect program data. The schedule may include training, administering both a pilot test and program data collection, and due dates for recording. A data collection schedule should also allot enough time to achieve a reasonable response rate, providing quality data for timely, meaningful results. And everyone who is involved in collecting and using data should be informed of this schedule. A data collection schedule needs to ensure data is available to meet program continuous improvement and assessment needs, funder requirements, and other stakeholder communication and reporting requirements. And to have data available for all these audiences, it means your data collection schedule needs to ensure data review and verification takes place as well. Think about how your organization uses or could use data during the program year. What schedule will allow you to assess performance during the year as opposed to only at the end of the year? Your data collection schedule can help you implement an early warning system if something isn't going as planned. Once you determine who will collect the data, the next step is to establish a data collection schedule. For output tools, you need to decide when you will want to track your services and the participants who you serve. It could be at enrollment or every class. For outcome tools, when you are measuring change, you will need to collect data before and after your program. This involves administering your tool pre- and post-program. You need to decide when you will administer your tool before the program. Will it be at the beginning of the year, upon program entry? Also in your schedule, you will need to specify when you will administer your assessment after the program. Will you administer the tool to everyone at the same time, or will you do rolling assessments as participants exit? When you establish this schedule, it's a good idea to plan dates for collecting, assessing, and reporting your data. This way, you can work backwards from reporting deadlines to figure out the schedule you need to get the data in a timely manner. Instruments need to measure what they're supposed to measure. The outcome instrument needs to be appropriate for measuring the type of change that you're assessing. An instrument that tracks the change in knowledge is different than an instrument that tracks the change in attitudes or behavior. And ideally, your outcome instrument should allow for pre and post measurement. That is, use the instrument before and after the intervention to see the impact of the intervention. Your data collection schedule is impacted by the tools or assessments you decide to use. When you are measuring change or outcomes, for example, changes in knowledge, collecting data before and after your program is the best way to determine whether a change has occurred. Pre- and post-assessments or tools are administered at 2 or more points in time, such as the beginning and the end of the program. By administering your tools before the program starts, you have a starting point. You have a measure of pre-existing knowledge or skills or attitudes prior to your program. The data from pre-assessment can provide information on the topics to cover or emphasize in the program. When you follow up with a post-program assessment, you can quantify the change the program participants experience between program start and completion. When you follow up with a post-program assessment, you can quantify the change the program participants experience between program start and completion. Number 4, determining the data collection process. Just like financial data tracking, in order to do this well, programs need to have plans in place for what data they'll collect and how they will collect it. The plan should cover all the data elements that are required by WSC, including the performance measure outputs and outcomes in the program's awarded application. In addition, the data collection process should include other types of information, both qualitative and quantitative, that tell the story of a program's impact and that help staff assess how well their program is working in order to make decisions about how to improve it. The data collection process should be in place in the very beginning of the program year, so data collection is done effectively and consistently from day one. Once you have your tools, the data collectors, and the data collection schedule, the first step is to specify your data collection process. It is important to be very clear on exactly how you will collect data because the process you use affects the characteristics of the data you collect. The devil is really in the details. Some questions to think about when planning your data collection process include: what exactly are we measuring? What is the correct tool to administer to participants? Will the survey be administered online, over the phone, in person, or by paper and pencil? Part of the process is deciding who is responsible for collecting data, who will be administering assessment, and ultimately recording the results. Who will compile and verify the data? Will the data collectors compile all the data, or will there be others involved in the process? How will the data be verified? How will we ensure unduplicated counts? Who will review the data you collect? How will the data be reviewed? Who is responsible for confirming accuracy and completeness of the data? Who needs to approve the data? Is it done at the site level or at the WSC? Where and how is the data stored? Is there a database or Excel spreadsheet, or is the data collected and stored manually? Who's responsible for entering the data into the database, spreadsheet, or other central location? All source documentation needs to be stored to ensure we can verify the reported data. Source documentation includes survey responses, attendance sheets, or any other completed instrument used by the program to collect data. Additionally, the data should be stored in a user-friendly format. This will allow for easier aggregation and analysis of data once it's been collected. How is the data kept confidential? All source documentation must be stored to ensure the reported data can be verified and secured to protect any sensitive information. Source documentation includes survey responses, attendance sheets, and any other compiled instrument used by the program to collect data. While collecting your program's data, you will want to store your data securely. This requires all data users to know your program's data storage systems. Programs don't have to purchase expensive customized systems. They can design their own systems using readily available tools as long as they can ensure security and confidentiality, permits data to be analyzed easily, has permission settings, and retains source documentation. Organizations may want to discuss data storage systems with other like-focused programs to see what tools are working for other AmeriCorps programs. After you establish your data collection process, it is important to set up ways to document exactly what you do. Documentation is key to having confidence in the quality of your data. On this slide, we show an example of a data collection log. The purpose of the log is to document who collects data, using which tool and when, document dates for collecting, analyzing, and reporting data, keep everyone informed, and we use it to include stakeholders in the data collection process. Use any format you like for the log. The example shown here includes places to identify the tool, method, data source, and who is responsible for the data collection. It also includes placeholders for dates when data needs to be collected, analyzed, and reported, and a place for reflection around the data collection process. It is important for all data collectors to be trained so that they understand the importance of the data, how the data will be used, how and when to use the instruments, and how to properly store data. Training should prepare the data collectors for gathering high-quality data for the program supporting needs, as well as to provide solid information for decision-making. The training should be sufficiently formalized and should be supported by written instructions and procedures. The training and written guidance should be thorough and readily available to allow someone to step into the role. Effective training may include hands-on use of the collection tools, data storage systems, and source documentation. Further, training should cover the why in addition to the what and how. If collectors fully understand the role data and data collection plays in the organization, they may be more motivated to gather good data. To collect high-quality data, it is very important to train your data collectors so they have the information they need to consistently collect good data. Set aside training time for data collectors. During this training, you will describe the data collection process in great detail with a specific focus on the data collector's role. The training should include what the tools are and how to administer them. This should include information on how to handle problems that may come up during the administration, such as the participant doesn't complete the entire tool because of an emergency, or maybe the participants complain. Data collectors should know how to record results from tools and should understand the steps to ensure completeness, consistency, and accuracy of the recorded data. Data collectors may be program staff, AmeriCorps members, or volunteers. The individuals who are responsible for data collection should have access to the sources and instruments, be qualified or experienced in collecting programmatic data, and be objective when administering the instruments. Train your data collectors the process to enter information into the database. If appropriate, review the steps to ensure completeness, consistency, and accuracy of the data entered. Although you might not have a formal database, your program must keep data in an Excel spreadsheet or even in a written logbook. Whatever method is used to enter data from all tools, collectors should be trained to use it properly. All source documentation must be stored to ensure verifiability of reported data and secured to protect any sensitive information. Source documentation includes survey responses, attendance sheets, and any other completed instrument used by the program to collect data. This is particularly important with data that might be sensitive, such as the participant's last name, home address, student grades, etc. Be sure to train your data collector about what to do when potential problems occur. Training is also a good time for data collectors to practice or role-play the data collection process. This is especially important when the data collection is done face-to-face, such as with interviews or focus groups. Number 6, recording and organizing performance measurement data. Collecting data, organizing and recording the data sets the stage for the program assessment. To assess the quality of a program and the effects of its intervention, to show whether or not a program is on target to reach its goals, and if there are interventions that work better in one setting or for one population than others. All results should be used to inform the program's continuous improvement. Once your participants have completed your tool, you need to determine how you will score and review the data. Who's going to do it? When? And how? How does the scoring process work? What needs to be reviewed? After data is scored and reviewed, they must be recorded. Typically, this involves entering results into a spreadsheet or database. Again, who will do it, when, and how? Before you can assess your data, you must get it ready for analysis. This involves cleaning and organizing the data. Cleaning the data is what it sounds like, reviewing the data and looking for odd numbers or red flags. Are there certain groups of participants that you want to focus on in your analysis? How will you disaggregate the data? That is, how will you break down information into smaller subpopulations if you need to? For instance, breaking data down into grade level within school-age students, languages spoken within cultural groups, and gender among student populations are all ways of disaggregating data. What kinds of comparisons do you want to make, such as low income versus not low income, middle school versus high school, etc.? Number 7, assessing performance measurement data. Assessing data is all about looking at the quality of our program and the effects of the intervention. Assessment shows whether or not the program is on target to reach its goals, and if there are interventions that work better in one setting or for one population than others. All results should be used to inform the program's continuous improvement. After you've recorded and organized your data, the first step is to determine how you will analyze the data you collect and who will conduct the analysis. This will be staff, volunteers, AmeriCorps members, or program consultants. Whoever is responsible for data analysis must have the skills to conduct the assessment effectively. To help you decide who should conduct the data assessment, think about who on your staff has the skill and ability to determine what disaggregation of data is needed to be able to measure the results against the objectives, such as low income versus not low income, middle school versus high school, etc. You need to also determine appropriate ways to handle missing data. They will need to analyze and interpret quantitative data, calculate frequencies, averages, or ranges for quantitative data. They'll need to analyze and interpret qualitative data, assess the value and importance of answers to open-ended survey questions or information gathered from interviews. Finally, they'll need to determine what other factors should be considered in the analysis, such as demographics. Depending on who will do the assessment, you may need to arrange for additional training, or you may need external assistance in analyzing data and interpreting results. The second question for you to answer is how will the results be reported and to whom? In addition to WSC, there are potential stakeholders and other project staff that would like to see the data. Will your data be used to determine the significance of the results? How will you use the data to improve your program? We believe this is an essential part of data collection within the organization. How will the data be used to make that program better? It can be really hard for a new program to think about doing that. Programs that are just starting out may not know how to implement data-driven decision-making or what it might look like on the ground. Reporting to WSC is the first step. A culture of learning and continuous improvement is a higher level stage. Reflect on the data with stakeholders and staff at all levels. Actively use the data to ask questions, seek answers, and identify and solve problems. Use the data to inform adjustments to program activities. As you collect and analyze data, reassess the program goals and objectives. Use the data for long-term planning and decision-making. Now let's review the learning objective. Number 1. The first key component of this plan is determining who will collect the data. Data collectors can come in all form of program staff, AmeriCorps members, or volunteers. There are also many roles in working with data, such as collection, analysis, and reporting. The individuals who are responsible for data collection should have access to the sources and instruments, ideally are qualified or experienced in collecting programmatic data, and are as objective as possible when administering the instruments. Number 2, establish your data collection schedule. The schedule, which should be widely communicated, should ensure that the program has the resources, instruments, and collectors in place to effectively collect program data. Schedules should include key points such as training and administering both a pilot test and program data collection, and allow sufficient time to achieve a reasonable response rate and provide quality data for timely, meaningful results. Number 3, choose an appropriate outcome instrument. An outcome instrument should measure the type of change that you're assessing during pre- and post-measurement points. The outcome instrument needs to be appropriate for measuring the type of change that you're assessing. An instrument that tracks the change in knowledge is different than an instrument that tracks the change in attitudes or behavior. And ideally, Your outcome instrument should be used for both pre and post measurements. That is, you use the instrument both before and after the intervention to see the impact of the intervention. Number 4, determine the data collection process. Cover the who, how, what, and where of data collection. Who will collect the data? When will they collect it? How will they collect it? How will they document it? And how will they store it? Number 5, the importance of training data collectors. It is important for all data collectors to be trained so that they understand the importance of the data, how the data will be in use, how and when to instruments, and how to properly store the data. Training should prepare the data collectors for gathering high-quality data for the program, supporting needs as well as to provide solid information for decision-making. Recording and organizing performance measurement data. Collecting data, organizing, and recording the data sets the stage for the program assessment. To assess the quality of the program and the effects of the intervention, to show whether or not the program is on target to reach its goals, and if there are interventions that work better in one setting or for one population than others. All results should be used to inform the program's continuous improvement. Number 7, assess performance measurement data. Use the data for program improvement. Using data for decision-making encourages a culture of learning. The organization can explore whether there are gaps in the service so that the program can extend its reach. The grantee can use the collected and analyzed data to determine how to increase the program's effectiveness in achieving output and outcome goals. And finally, the program can use the results of the analysis to help build the evidence base for the program. Questions for you to reflect upon. Have you ever changed your data collection instrument or protocol? If so, what prompted you to do so? Who in your organization is responsible for quality control of your data? What systems do you have in place to validate collected data? Who in your organization is responsible for data analysis? And how does your organization use the analyzed data? Share an example how you've used data you've collected to change or improve your program. Thank you for watching this video.